waterfall where the serious climbing began. And then, seizing a stretch of 5 days of perfect weather, we blitzed our way to the top, all four roped together. We stood on the summit at 3:30 a.m. on July 30th, the 32nd day of the expedition. During the next few years, our Huntington climb acquired a certain cachet. I wrote my first book, The Mountain of My Fear, about the expedition, and gradually that narrative gained the status of a minor adventure classic. Other climbers tipped their caps to our feat. As late as 2009, one of them, Doug Robinson, wrote, "I'll say it was the state-of-the-art alpine climb in the world to that date." By 2015, Matt and I had been for more than 4 decades the only surviving members of our team. Only 20 hours after we stood on top, Ed Byrne was killed when his rappel anchor failed and he plunged, without a word, 4,000 feet to his death. And in 1973, Don Jensen died when he was hit by a truck while bicycling to work at a university in Scotland. In Talkeetna and Anchorage, Matt's and my fears that no one would care about our ancient deed proved gloriously unfounded. The auditoriums were packed. Raucous attendees hooted at the photos of our period gear, gold-lined ropes, Kelty packs, but cheered our moves on the golden granite of the upper wall. The applause at the end was long, and folks came up to chat. Some even sought our autographs. We both signed copies of The Mountain of My Fear, still in print 47 years after Vanguard Press rescued it from the slush pile. The whole return to Alaska was halcyon. We greeted old cronies we hadn't seen in years and downed beers with some of the best young climbers who live in the far north today. We gossiped about unclimbed prizes off in the hinterlands, as if we still imagined that we might do battle with them. Matt and I hoped to fly around Huntington. I'd made 2 trips by small plane past the scene of our triumph in later years, but Matt hadn't seen the West Face in half a century. Alas, the Alaska Range stayed socked in during the span of our visit, just as the storms had seemed to doom our chances in 1965. We never got to fly. As we walked the dirt streets of Talkeetna, marveling at the gift shops and restaurants that had turned the town into a tourist mecca, we stopped in at the only landmarks that had been there 50 years before: the Fairview Inn, the Roadhouse, famed for its gargantuan breakfasts, and the B&K Trading Post, whose candy counter the 2 great bush pilots of the day, Don Sheldon and Cliff Hudson, had shattered in an epic fistfight. The Arts Center where Matt and I gave our slideshow had been converted from Sheldon's hangar, inside which the 4 of us had camped as we waited for the skies to clear so that the pilot could fly us into the Tokasitna. Yet our rambles through the streets of Talkeetna had a melancholy tinge. The old dirt runway Sheldon used for takeoffs and landings, overgrown with weeds, conjured up the bursting ambitions we had nursed in 1965, when all of Alaska gleamed with peaks and routes no one had attempted. Knowing that we would never again set forth so boldly into the unknown, Matt and I now heard the mournful echo of the siren song that had sounded so keen in our youthful ears. And Talkeetna was redolent with memories of the glum aftermath of our Huntington expedition, when the 3 of us had slowly packed our gear while the hours ticked off until I faced the dreadful duty that had hung over us since midnight on July 30th. The phone call to Ed's parents in Pennsylvania, when I would have to tell them what had happened to their son. On our second day in Talkeetna, as we sat in our motel room planning the day's activities, I noticed a small lump on the right side of my neck.